Dota 2 is a game beloved for its skill expression, the ability to kite out fights, barely survive, and then turn around losing situations into winning ones by styling on your opponents is one of the many things that keeps us as players and viewers hooked. While there are many items and abilities that give massive outplay potential, one of the most truly misunderstood is today's item focus, Armlet of Mordiggian. Stick around as I walk you through a complete mechanical breakdown of the item, a brief overview of heroes it works best with, as well as show you the simple hotkey setup and training exercises you can use in order to be spam reported for smurfing while you farm your pub games. What's going on, gamers? It's Phil H here from Beneath the Veil, and welcome back to the channel. Let's get into the breakdown. In this current patch, Armlet costs 2,500 gold and is made up of a Helm of Iron Will, Gloves of Haste, Blades of Attack, and a 625 gold recipe. It grants base stats of 15 damage, 25 attack speed, 6 armor, and 5 HP regen. The most important aspect of Armlet is its toggleable effect, Unholy Strength. This ability costs no mana to cast and most importantly has no cooldown. We will explain how to exploit this later on. When activating Unholy Strength, players gain 35 damage, 25 strength, and 4 armor. This comes at a cost of 45 health per second while Unholy Strength is active. Keep in mind these active bonuses stack on top of the passive bonuses of the item, so while Unholy Strength is active, you get the total following effects: 50 damage for Agility and Intelligence heroes, 75 damage for Strength heroes due to the stat gains, while Universal heroes gain 61.25 damage for the same reason. Heroes also gain 550 HP, 7.5 HP regen, 10 total armor, along with the base 25 attack speed. As listed in the expanded description of the item, the strength change will affect both maximum and current HP, but you cannot die from the change. The strength change occurs in 0.1 second increments over 0.6 seconds, whereas the additional 4 armor gets added after the full 0.6 second activation period. Also note that toggling Armlet does not interrupt channeling, meaning it is possible to save yourself by Armlet toggling while using a TP scroll, so long as your enemies do not have the means to cancel your channel, which can be a huge outplay. Unfortunately, as is the case with most things in Dota, the description can never tell the full story. While the strength and armor gains occur over 0.6 seconds, the damage change does not. This means the moment you activate Unholy Strength, you gain instant access to the additional 35 damage, so long as it is activated before the attack animation starts. If you activate Unholy Strength after your attack animation has started, it will not count the damage for that attack. What also isn't explained is that all the activatable changes are lost the instant that you toggle Unholy Strength off. This means you instantly lose 35 damage for Agility and Intelligence heroes, 60 damage for Strength heroes, and 46.25 damage for Universal heroes. You also instantly lose 4 armor, and most importantly, you lose 2.5 HP regen and 550 health. Since these losses are non-lethal, you generally want to toggle the armlet off right after you've taken damage, rather than trying to toggle it on right before you're going to take damage, since the non-lethal loss is instant and gains are delayed by 0.6 seconds. As with everything, there are exceptions to the rule, but keep that in mind for now. It's also important to note that the health gain does not count as a heal, so cannot be manipulated by other aspects such as the health amplification of Holy Locket, or heal reduction through items such as Orb of Corrosion, Spirit Vessel, Shiva's Guard, and Eye of Skadi. However, the extra HP regen granted through the strength gain of Unholy Strength can be heavily mitigated, so that's something to keep in mind. The damage over time of Spirit Vessel in particular can be a great way to counteract a player trying to toggle an armlet, as they can end up ticking out to the damage over time. Damage over time spells are the biggest challenge to players trying to exploit armlet toggling, so keep that in mind when drafting and itemizing. Do also note that heroes under the effect of invulnerability do not take any damage from Unholy Strength being active, which can be a help or hindrance depending on if the player armlet toggling is on your team or not. As with everything health related, it is not possible to gain health by toggling Unholy Strength on while under the effects of Doom or Ice Blast, but if you toggle them off, you will take a hit to your HP pool, making it possible to toggle yourself to death under both effects. While neither Doom nor Ancient Apparition hard counter Armlet, it's something to keep in mind when they're in the game. Unholy Strength does not persist in death either, so for players using Armlet on Wraith King or while they hold an Aegis of Immortality, do be aware if you died with Unholy Strength active, you will respawn with it inactive and thus will need to toggle it back on. Let's take a moment to discuss one of Armlet's most misunderstood aspects. Due to the huge damage spike this item gives relative to its cost, this is generally a tempo item balanced around early aggression, similar to Desolator. The holistic goal of Armlet is purchasing it with the intent to mainly farm gold by killing the enemy team and pushing down objectives, with minimal downtime outside of that spent hitting neutral creeps. In most cases, if you're buying Armlet when you're behind and intending to dodge fights while hitting creeps to recover, you're better off purchasing other items to raise your GPM. Armlet gets value in lineups where you have players buying Drums of Endurance, Urns and Spirit Vessels, and running the enemy team down. When heroes still hit like wet noodles, it's much easier to successfully toggle Unholy Strength and live through their damage. As they hit harder and harder the later the game goes, it becomes a near impossible task. If your lineup doesn't facilitate running the enemy down, in most cases you want to pick another another tool to help your team. Interestingly, when analyzing Armlet purely for efficiency of raw damage increase per gold spent, an active Armlet comes out 5th most gold efficient for agility and intelligence heroes, 4th most efficient for universal heroes, and 3rd most efficient for strength heroes, trailing only Divine Rapier and Fairy Fire. With that covered, let's go over the simple hotkey setup and training exercises that will make it look like you're smurfing. While some might consider this an exploit, it's a setup you're able to execute in the client, so we will leave that ethical dilemma up to each of you. We're just letting you know the tool is there in plain sight. So long as you have enabled direct cast bindings found top right of the hotkeys page, you will then have both a cast and quick cast tab available in the items section of your hotkeys. From there, we're going to assign 2 hotkeys to the same item slot. For today's example, I'm going to bind both Z and X to my first item slot, though you can see I also have Alt-C and Alt-V bound to slot 4. Z will be bound through my quick cast since I mainly use quick cast, while I will bind X to my regular cast slot for demonstration purposes. You set up whatever hotkeys are most efficient for you. As you can see, when I load into a demo map, which you can now do through the Heroes tab as of 7.40, I can activate and deactivate Armlet by pressing both my Z and X hotkeys I set up. This makes it possible for me to either press one hotkey to toggle Armlet on or off, or I can press both hotkeys at the same time to instantly toggle Armlet off and back on again. This is why Armlet having no mana cost or cooldown is so important, and is what we are exploiting with this hotkey setup. Since I know that I will instantly lose 550 HP and then regain it over 0.6 seconds, I can stand underneath a tower at any level I want to practice toggling and wait until my health drops below that 550 HP threshold to then begin practicing. I would also advise turning off creep waves so you're only dealing with a single source of damage. Take note of these pips on your HP bar over your hero. Each of these denotes 250 HP, and there is a larger bar that separates each group of 1000 HP. Once you get to 2 pips, it's toggling time, baby. From there, I can toggle the Armlet off and then back on right after the tower projectile hits me. You want to do this for every hit. Even though the tower won't kill you, if you don't build this habit and go fight Roshan, he'll wipe you out. As you'll experience for yourself if you do the exercise, it's much easier to toggle off and back on with 2 hotkeys simultaneously than it is to toggle on and off with a single hotkey. I can then move on to higher tier towers which all do more damage compared to a tier 1. Once you get used to toggling through a single source of damage, you can then go and stand in both tier 4 towers and practice managing toggling through 2 different projectiles, which is a significant jump in difficulty. By standing closer to one tower than you are to the other, you can have the projectiles land at different timings, which helps train the discipline of waiting for multiple projectiles to land before toggling, or tightening your timing of toggling between each individual projectile. You can take this a step further by using the training polygon in the arcade section to practice with the Armlet toggling trainer in there, but the developer of that seems to be phasing out of maintaining it, so I'm unsure how much longer that tool will be available. A newer alternative is using the demo hero mode to go and practice taking on Roshan solo with an Armlet and a few smaller component items to test your limits. It's a fun way to spend a few minutes and practice toggling off the correct sound cues while ignoring all the other sounds that are produced with any game of Dota. There is a distinctly important interaction that you need to know with Armlet toggling which I don't seem to be able to find any documentation on. If you are stunned by any hero ability and even neutral creep ability, you can queue up a toggle and it will immediately execute after the stun is faded, effectively shift queuing commands without you needing to hold shift while you're stunned. However, if Roshan stuns you and you toggle during that stun, only a single cast will go through and you will just turn Armlet off. I don't know why this is a Roshan specific interaction, but it is, and I couldn't replicate it anywhere else. It is critical that you do not toggle Armlet until after Roshan has hit you to ensure you get the full toggle off, and that you do not toggle during the time you are stunned. If you want to successfully solo Roshan, you must toggle after every hit without exception, except for when stunned or risk dying to the RNG gods. Now that you've got all the mechanical tools to start farming MMR in pubs, the most important questions to answer are what hero should be buying Armlet, and which hero should we avoid buying Armlet against. Let's start with heroes that enjoy buying Armlet. Due to the constant health drain as well as the massive damage boost that strength and even universal heroes get, it's generally best practice to avoid buying Armlet on agility and intelligence heroes and consider Armlet on strength and universal heroes who either innately have lifesteal or also enjoy buying lifesteal items. There is an exception to every rule, and while I am an enjoyer of the odd position 4 Terrorblade with Blink Armlet for clutch Sunder saves and disengaging with Armlet toggling to then transition into Blink Sunder Dagon plays, I would never endorse that as a solid strategy in every game. While 9 Class has popped off with the build in the past, he's also demonstrated how it can fail spectacularly against a team leveraging damage over time spells. When it comes to the strongest and most iconic Armlet carriers, Dragon Knight, Huskar, and Wraith King all come to mind. Chaos Knight and Lifestealer are also solid candidates to this day. Less popular considerations are heroes like Marcy, Dawnbreaker, Sven, Legion Commander, Mars, Nightstalker, and Lycan, though their conditions for buying Armlet these days are highly nuanced. Alchemist and Kunkka used to both be Armlet purchasers as well, but their builds seem entirely dead these days, in favour of other more viable ones. When it comes to heroes that Armlet is generally bad against, the biggest counters are damage over time dealers, though some nukers can also be a bad time. Though the instant loss of health from deactivating a Holy Strength is not lethal, it's enough to give a window for any damage over time tick to take you out, just like a Spirit Vessel carrier can. Since all damage over time spells have different tick rates, it becomes much harder to deal with unless you're practicing against each one. If there are any Armlet Giga Chads who can give me the explain like I'm 5 breakdown on how to toggle through every spell, let me know, because I'm not him yet. Slower tick rate spells like Maledict are super easy to toggle through. However, spells like Venomancer's Venomous Gale are much more difficult. Generally, if damage over time dealers come out in the draft, reconsider Armlet heavily in favor of other items. If you're playing into a Necrophos, you're in for a hard time. Reaper's Scythe to stun and nuke you on low health along with his health removal over time aura makes toggling a near impossible task if he decides to save his Scythe for you. While you may get some free games off a Necro based on the player piloting him, I generally advise you don't rely on that counterplay option. Take the fight to him with a Nullifier instead, which gives you both damage and armor as well as an active effect that hard counters him outside of BKB. With nukers, it can be touch and go. Since there's a 0.6 second delay on gaining the full amount of health, you can sometimes pre-toggle a nuke if your enemy is lazy about their spell cast and telegraphs a big nuke by casting it outside of their cast range, so their hero has to walk forward before casting. Better players will wait until they're in range to instantly punish you though, since most cast points for nukes are about 0.2 second cast time at maximum. In general, the lower rank you are, the less important nukers being on the enemy team should be to helping you decide whether you should avoid purchasing Armlet or not. I hope this video helped you understand how to get the most out of Armlet of Mordiggian. As always, if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to let us know in the comments below. If you haven't already, check out this video where we discuss another aspect of the game we all love. Good luck and happy gaming.